Hey, Jeff.
Yes, Zane.
You still like cartoons?
I love cartoons. I just don't watch them as much as I did maybe in the 80s. So you would say we talk a lot of 80s stuff, right?
Yeah, it's because it's the golden era of pop culture.
We never talked about our favorite sci-fi cartoons of the 80s.
What?
I know, right? So, Saturday mornings and sci-fi cartoons and all that stuff?
Yeah.
So today I thought we'd talk about sci-fi cartoons of the 80s.
I say we do that right after this. Welcome to Whiskey Pop. I'm only slightly inebriated. Wait, actually my name is Zane.
My name's Jeff.
And he's still eating a donut.
It's morning, dude. I gotta eat a donut.
It is morning.
I mean, we're talking about Saturday morning cartoons.
I mean, we can't say it's morning because that's not kosher to say it's morning and still be drinking whiskey.
I'm not drinking it yet.
We will be.
Probably.
But today we're going to be talking about 80s cartoons in a sense of
Sci-fi 80s cartoons.
the sci-fi 80s cartoons.
There are a lot of 80s cartoons to talk about. But
Yeah, but the thing is, we know that this is a genre unto itself that needs to be explored.
For sure, I don't see very many people talking about this.
No, they don't.
Maybe it's because they're not as old as we are.
Well, we aren't necessarily spry, but I wouldn't say we're
Oh,
old.
we're spry.
Yeah, that's right, we're spry.
We're spry. But before we talk about 80s cartoons,
We have to discuss, at least briefly, what we're going to drink while we're talking about.
we're going to drink whiskey.
Yeah.
But what are we drinking?
I don't know, it's behind some damn cereal boxes.
How about James E. Pepper 1776? We've reviewed this whiskey. Oh, wait a minute. This is the barrel proof.
This is the barrel proof. It's a little bit
It's
different.
got a little kick to it, right? So I say
That's
we
right.
open this up.
Let's do it. So, Jeffrey,
Yes.
we're having 1776.
Let's smell this.
Just as I suspected.
It's bourbon.
I mean, what else do you eat on your cereal?
Hey, let's go in on this. Tastes like donut. And, oh, wait.
You just had a donut.
I just had a donut. If you
But
want-
actually, oh, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you.
if you want
No, I'm serious, so go ahead.
Anyway,
What? Just tell them about what you
You
do.
so-
Hey, you know how to do that.
yeah, there you go. Do that.
Everything in threes.
That's right.
Except I'm going to mess you up right there.
If you want to know more about this whiskey, find us on Friday when we do.
Second pour, because we're going to tell you everything you need to know about this, whether you should have this or not.
That's right. In the meantime, we're going to talk about
80s sci-fi
cartoons.
cartoons.
Now, we know that the 80s is the golden age of pop culture.
Yes.
And within that, we know that a number of cartoons coming out of the 80s were some of the best animated TV shows of all time.
Yeah, we're talking about the best of the craft. Not just, interesting.
Today, we're going to talk about sci-fi and cartoons in the 80s because there's some really amazing stuff in there.
Now, I hate to jump right into it, Jeffrey, but
Go ahead.
this
go.
one, I don't know how many people are really going to remember it.
Cartoons were so predominant in the 80s, and they were basically recycled
Yes.
so fast. We had new cartoons every year.
Yeah, that's right.
That meant some of the stuff just didn't make it for very long, but a year.
And the thing is most of them, if not all, really, was based on season 2 as how good season 1's toy line went.
That's right. If the toy line crashed and
Yeah.
burned, so did the show. So, I mean,
Yeah.
this is truth for a lot of these today, but that doesn't make them bad. That just means that the toys didn't sell as much as they expected, so we lost the show, but then it was usually replaced with something just as freaking cool.
Yeah, that's right.
So our first one, number 10, is Jace and the Wheel Warriors.
thundering across the stars to save the universe from the monster minds. Jace searches for his father to unite the magic root and lead his Lightning League to victory over the changing form of Sawboss. Wheeled warriors explode into battle. Lightning strikes.
There's a power that comes from deep inside of you. It's every day reaching toward the light. And you know there's a long way ahead of you. But when your wills get you there, things will turn out right.
Yeah. Now, if you haven't seen this, jump on it, watch some of it. It's
Episodes are on YouTube. You can watch them.
It's campy, but the line,
But it's still cool. But the toy line?
the toy line was great.
It was badass.
Now-
I had all of these toys from the show.
That's because you were rich.
I wasn't rich.
Only the rich kids could afford this toy line.
I had the entire toy line. Here's the thing. I don't have the toy line today.
Actually, or is it only the rich kids can afford this toy line now?
That's true because
Look at this price.
I didn't have this. Yeah, look at this.
Look at this price.
I had all these. I even had that one. That's $400.
Look. I want to explain something to you. Plastic.
It's just a plastic toy, right?
$400. Now,
No, the show was awesome. It revolved around the fact that this kid lost his dad. He takes over to fight this evil empire, the monster mind, basically. And
Yeah.
they're like the plant-based characters.
this throws things on the head of how things are now. Because it's the machined, mechanizational civilization that are the good guys.
That's right. It's flipped, right?
And the bad guys are kind of like these, plant.
The green thing would be the
Organic,
good guys,
yeah.
right? And the mechanical guys would be the bad guys.
Yeah.
But it was flipped back in the 80s. The funny thing is the guy who wrote the episodes for this is the same guy who created Babylon 5.
Which is not Muppets in Space.
Oh, well, that's new.
This next one, I'm going to be up front. I didn't watch the show.
I watched the dog squat out of this show.
I didn't even have any toys from this show.
And just because I had an action figure that had a missile that blew out the backpack, and I just so happened to shoot it at a said Christmas tree and broke the glass ornaments, does not mean that the toy line was bad. It was just, I remember the toy line.
We're talking about Centurions.
In the near future, Doc Terror and his cyborg companion hacker unleash their forces to conquer Earth. Only one force can stop this evil, a handful of brave men. In specially created exoframes, they can be transported anywhere to fuse with incredible assault weapon systems beamed down from the space station Skyvault, becoming man and machine power extreme.
Yeah, now, this is Man and Machine Extreme.
This is like Iron Man meets G.I. Joe meets Lego.
Yeah, this is not supposed to be a toy episode necessarily. However,
Can it not be? Everything in the 80s was built around selling toys.
these toys were like a 7-inch figure, basically.
Yeah, they were like this big,
And
right?
all the parts interchanged. And what made the show so good is how they wrote the reason why you needed to interchange these parts. It's because the guys were like fighting these mastermind criminals who were cyborgs. And in order to thwart their plans, they had to get the right accessory package to be able to go where these bad guys are to accost them and defeat them.
I mean, now, the funny thing about this, I did not know, like, two of the doctors that were in the show, it's Alan Oppenheimer, which is Skeletor, and Frank Weller, which is
Frank Weller.
is Megatron.
How ironic!
We actually had an episode, we had actually a show for this next one that we pulled out. We didn't feel like it was sci-fi enough, but this one definitely is sci-fi enough, and that would be The Real Ghostbusters.
Something strange in the neighborhood. Who you gonna call? There's something weird and it don't look good. Who you gonna call?
This is a show that used none of the original Ghostbuster voices.
No, this was Fred from Scooby-Doo.
Yes.
This was Garfield from Garfield and Friends. This was Arsenio Hall. And then this was the Brain from Pinky and the Brain.
So all these gentlemen made up the voices characters
For the new Ghostbusters, which was the same characters from the movie. So
Yeah.
in 1986, they made the real Ghostbusters. And then Slimer became kind of like a pet.
So I mean, it's sci-fi. It's around their gizmos,
It's
their
sci-fi,
gadgets.
right? I mean, it is kind of paranormal in sci-fi, but I mean, ghosts aren't real.
It's Mr. Grizzly.
All right, so this next one, this show literally did not do well. The toy line, badass.
Yeah, the toy line was great.
It was trying to live off the success of its predecessor, but it just still didn't do it. And we're talking about
Silver Hawks.
Tally ho! Wings of silver, birds of steel. Silver hawks, partly metal, partly real. Silver hawks, soaring through the highway of the heavens in their flight. Silver hawks, a rainbow in the night.
I'm sorry, but in the 80s, every introductory theme song for a show was better than everything that's made today.
Hands down. And Silverhawks is the same way.
You got a guy flying a spaceship playing a guitar. Come on,
I
man.
mean, you got that. You've got that. But again, this is like we talked about. There's a lot of things on the storytelling side of these that were taught. All the different listed cartoons that if we took them today in today's world and we just expanded what they were already fleshing out, but
Some
just
good stuff.
you could do so much with this stuff.
Despite the fact that this is basically recycled Thundercats, but
Yeah, that's
in
right.
space. I mean, even Monstar, the bad guy, is basically Mom Ra
he's
from Thundercats.
He's a convertible bad guy, basically.
But who cared? I mean,
Yeah.
it was badass.
It was awesome, and again, it also explored different styles of the animation qualities, different ways of doing coloration, which gave the illusion of all this metallic.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it really sold me.
It was on the edge. So this is Rankin Bass, right? But this is on the edge of what anime and American cartoon could do together.
Yeah,
It was very much on the edge of that.
Yeah, it was an amalgamation of East meets West, sort of, and
Very much so,
was
but
great.
it was just a great show. Now, it of course hit the one season death note too.
it was not because of like people liking the show.
This is
Probably
the toys didn't sell.
Yeah, it was that thing.
Toys didn't sell. Now, sometimes that's not the toys' fault. They sometimes couldn't meet the demand,
Yeah, there's
and
all
then
kinds
kids
of
move on really quick. So, because the next show that we're going to talk about probably surpassed that anyway,
Well,
even at that time.
Yeah, well, sure.
So our number 5 would be, He-Man.
I am Adam, Prince of Eternia and defender of the secrets of Castle Grayskull. This is Cringer, my fearless friend. Fabulous secret powers were revealed to me the day I held aloft my magic sword and said, "By the power of Grayskull!" Cringer became the mighty Battle Cat, and I became He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe.
Look, it's iconic. It's I dare say a staple of pop culture, especially in the United States, if not globally.
I mean, look at it this way. He-Man was from 1983 to 1985, but I'm fairly certain that the toy line survived much longer than that.
Yeah, the toy line was so successful that they kept trying to reinvent the cartoon to reinvent more toy lines.
I mean, He-Man has been recreated multiple times. We've had the first, which was 2 seasons, the second one, which was 1 season, the third one, which was 2 seasons, the fourth one, which is out right now, and another 5th one on top of that. Plus, we had a movie that came out that sucked.
Yeah, it was nasty.
But we got a new movie that's been rumored for the last couple of years. So, I mean, He-Man is huge.
Yeah, for sure.
And so, I mean, and is it a sci-fi? Well, it involved a mom who was an astronaut who landed on a different planet. I mean, there's tons of techie stuff.
Yeah, it's this strange world where apocalyptic type scenario had to have happened to cause technology to become wizardry.
Yeah, and wizardry becomes part of that. So
Yeah.
like you get this mystical side with the sorceress and the sword and the castle.
But it's all based on this tech.
Yeah, but there's all this tech. There's banded arms and all this tech equipment. And then you got even the characters like, was it Triclops?
Yeah, sure.
I mean, that's techie, right?
Trap Jaw. I mean, he's
Trap
got
Jaw. Oh.
interchangeable cybernetic pieces, and I mean, they have flying machines. They even their horses were like robotic,
Which was badass.
Yeah, it's so sci-fi.
Yeah.
But we always think of the barbarian aspect, you know, the Conan-esqueness of it.
And it was kind of that. It was Conan meets, what happens when Conan meets Flash Gordon?
Yeah, and I think that is absolutely perfect. That's what He-Man is.
Don'ts, half-wits, bunglers.
This next series, I am extremely shocked we have never had a live action version of this at all.
This one could go easy for live action.
And it was only like a season and a half, but it's the idea and the premise of this show. Listen, this fits everything today. It's diverse.
Yeah.
It is heroic. It's got all the techie stuff in it. And what are we talking about? We're talking about
Mask.
Masked crusaders working overtime, fighting crime. Secret raiders who will neutralize soon as they arrive. The Tracker's gonna lead the mission, and Spectrum's got such supervision.
okay. Theme song, badass.
It's badass.
The guy goes and calls in people from different areas of the world to come and help do a
Yeah. So there's a mission, and you know, something you got to do. Very G.I. Joey.
and the things that they drive transform into at least two vehicles.
Yeah. So that's the thing. It's like it's got that transformational aspect. It's got the G.I. Joe aspect of needing to build the team.
Oh my gosh, this
And-
show is light years ahead of its time.
And then they came out with this badass toy line that supported it, to where it was genuinely good quality toys, but they were expensive.
And they were hard to get. And even today, when you go and buy one, they're expensive.
Yeah, they are
because they're super
expensive.
popular.
Yeah.
But it was the only toy I can remember where you could push one button and it would transform into something.
Yeah.
Anything else, you had to work at it. It was like, oh, that's just way. I remember when you push the button and the doors go, and they'd
Yeah.
open up on the car. I'm like,
Yeah.
that was badass.
The whole premise and the gimmick of the toy line was perfect with the show, and it didn't feel gimmicky. It felt necessary.
Now, the unfortunate thing in the 80s, it was so focused on toy sales
Yeah.
that even if the storylines were great and the animation was amazing, it did not matter. If you couldn't sell enough toys,
You're gone.
show's gone. And it's just like, that's unfortunate because it's not like that today.
No.
Half the stuff on Cartoon Network has no tie-in to toy line sales.
You're just hoping that it has toys. Isn't that right? You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we all are.
you go in and type in Rick and Morty merchandise. You know you're those guys.
But see, Rick and Morty's not relying on toy sales.
They're not. No, they
So
are not.
that's the thing. I would love for some of these to come back out. And it has, like Netflix is doing He-Man, right?
Yeah.
Clearly not built on a toy line they got to sell to make money. So it's mainly just built for us old farts who want to see it.
Now, our next subject matter, I have to apologize. We may have talked about it before.
We could do a whole episode on this show by itself.
We almost really did.
We could, almost did, and
Yeah.
you can see that here.
Yeah.
Now, you have to forgive it, that was back when we didn't have all our stuff together.
Yeah.
Not that we do now either, but
Because I am so put together right now, by the way.
yeah, because he's an expert.
See? I told you. You're coming around.
Geek expert.
You're coming around.
Not a whiskey expert. But the show we're talking about is Thundar the Barbarian.
Thundar the Barbarian. The year 1994. From out of space comes a runaway planet, hurtling between the Earth and the Moon, unleashing cosmic destruction. Man's civilization is cast in ruin. 2,000 years later, Earth is reborn. A strange new world rises from the old. A world of savagery, super science, and sorcery. But one man bursts his bonds to fight for justice. With his companions, Ookla the Mock and Princess Ariel, he pits his strength, his courage, and his fabulous sun's sword against...
All together, this is our favorite Hanna-Barbera show ever. Ever. This was designed by one of the greatest artists from Marvel and DC ever. And it was probably one of the greatest shows on cartoons in the 80s.
Again, story is perfect. It's a great premise. Was it cheesy? Of course. It's
like, what happens when you take Conan the Barbarian and mix it with Star Wars?
There you go.
And that was it.
Yeah. And we mentioned Jack Kirby.
Yeah, Jack Kirby, so New Gods, Jack Kirby, Fantastic Four, Jack Kirby. That Jack Kirby did all the design work for these guys. You can really see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it was completely different than anything that Hanna-Barbera did, which at the time was Ruby Spears. We literally could go on and on this. And there's no effing toy line for this thing. There was very little, if any, toy line. And any toys come out for this sell so fast today.
Yeah.
I can't get my hands on
There are figures. They're figures.
Outrageous.
But it's not like a toy line with accessories or action packs or vehicles or,
We're just wishing.
Yeah, we're just... All I'm saying is does this need to be remade? Not necessarily.
No, leave it alone.
Leave it alone.
Just give me the toys now. All the toys.
Just get those wonderful toys.
This next one, this is probably one of the most influential 80s cartoons of all time.
A lot of people would put this as the best or their
This
most...
would be the number one, right?
Yeah, typically.
It's made countless movies now,
Yeah.
countless spin-offs now, countless remakes now.
And the mother-loving toys.
The toy line is massive, and it's more than meets the eye.
Because we're talking about none other than Transformers.
More than meets the eye. Autobots wage their battle to destroy the evil forces of the Decepticons, the Transformers. Autobots in the sky. Transformers. More than meets the eye. The Transformers.
Okay, Transformers, dude. This changed the way we even look at toys.
Yeah, absolutely. And, they did things really good with this. They did the toy line. They had the TV show, which was great.
TV show was amazing.
Peter Cullen.
Yeah, can anybody else really play Optimus Prime?
I mean,
They made the movie and said he has to be the voice.
I have to say the Netflix show, the new ones that are coming out, they're doing a good job without Peter Cullen. However, if Peter had been the voice of Prime, it would have just been...
Regardless, one of the greatest cartoons of the 80s, sci-fi cartoons, but this next one went to number 2 because it has inspired so many other shows since it came out.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, I didn't watch the show.
Which is criminal. This is maybe one of my all-time favorite sci-fi franchises.
And we're talking about Macross. Oh, I'm sorry, Robotech.
Robotech.
What we have is a genuine story about humanity.
Sure.
And there is an alien threat. However, they're not just like aliens. You want me to do that again?
How's that sound?
Yes.
They're actually aliens. Yeah. The initial, they're very and overly intelligent, and they're a real threat. And you have to find a way to battle them to survive. Mm-hmm. And so they have technology that just so happens to transform into giant robots that they fight
Gundam.
Giant aliens that are humanoids with. It's before Gundam.
Our last one, our number 1.
Okay, here we go.
I can remember the day. It was a Sunday afternoon. I'm bored. For some reason, I turn on the TV in my parents' room. I'm never in my parents' room. And there's this show with these nude people in it that are cats. And I'm like, what the hell is this? And then I go through the whole episode and then end up on this planet, and this kid that was a kid that went in this pod comes out, and he's a fucking adult. And then the theme song played.
Yeah.
And I lost my proverbial shit because it was Thundercats.
Thundercats! Ho!
Holy crap,
First
dude.
of all, the intro to Thundercats is probably hands down the best intro of any show, period.
And storylines were fun as hell.
Yeah,
The characters were badass. All of them.
all of them.
Even Kit and Kat were somewhat badass.
Yeah.
And then the villains were fun.
Look, I will argue Mum-Ra is the best villain out of all cartooning from the 80s.
Man, is a guy that comes out like Yoda style, like he's like some poor, innocent, broken down villain. And then he turns into this giant, blue, massive, literally bigger than your damn place that you call Cat's Lair.
Yeah, right.
And destroys it.
Yeah. It's one of those things that within the show line, the toy line was good.
Toy
It was
line
alright.
was amazing. We went from these little G.I. Joe characters everybody was playing with, and Star Wars characters, and then we got these guys.
Yeah, they were big. They had accessories.
Their eyes lit up.
Everything. It was great.
The Thunder Tank.
Say no more.
I mean, everything about the toy line was amazing. Everything about the show was amazing. They've tried rebooting the show at least twice.
Yeah, they did. And the reason why they can't catch it is because, first of all, rank it best. And secondly, that intro is
It's hard to beat.
that you have to have that.
Yeah, it sets the
Because
tone, right?
it sets the tone.
Yeah.
It's like having Huckleberry Finn without Huck or Barry or Finn.
I mean, come on. You got a guy who was a kid who popped out as an adult who has a sword that grows
Yeah.
massive. It can call on all kinds of powers. And how you going to hold up to that? So what about you? Is there an 80s sci-fi that we forgot? Did you grow up in the 80s and like, I can't believe you guys didn't list this one. But is it a sci-fi? But list it. Let us know down below if you think we've missed a show, right?
Yeah, for sure. And until then, be safe, drink up, and join us on Second Point.
On Friday, where we will finish our review on 1776.
Yeah,
Bourbon.
because you'll be interested for sure.
So in the meantime,
Be safe and
continue to be geeky this week. We'll see you guys on Friday for Second Point.
cheers.
Cheers.